You've had quite the journey.
So at 12 years old, I started feeling a bit unwell, in constant chronic pain. And I mean, the pain was debilitating. And they confirmed it was Crohn's disease. And I remember my nurse saying to me, if you hadn't come in that night, you would have not made it through the night. And that literally put fear into me. And I remember looking down and I was like, what have I done? Having an operation is such a big deal. And I always preach this. But I just think, just be kind to yourself. Just take it easy. And just be really kind to yourself.
So welcome back to Beyond the Pouch. If you haven't already listened to our previous episodes, head over to Spotify or YouTube and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an update. We're excited to have a very special guest today, Angelina. She will be sharing her powerful journey of living with a stoma, embracing self-love and her experience with pregnancy and motherhood.
Oh, amazing. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I love this. I feel like this is like putting on my comfies at the end of the day because you're an old friend and a goodie.
This
is
warms
lush.
my heart hearing that.
I feel like I haven't seen you for ages because I think
I've been a bit busy.
I've been very busy.
I first met you down in Swansea years ago.
Yeah.
When we was at the Swansea Stadium.
Yeah. What was I doing there? Was I with Pelican? I believe I was. And I remember meeting you and Keith. And yeah, I remember you did a really lovely speech there as well. But yeah, it's been a while.
When did you first start doing stuff? Social media and that?
I think that Swansea thing was probably around the first time because I was just starting up Aura Clothing. So I was like going here, trying to go to like Stoma events and kind of like get to know people and kind of suss out the ostomy world. And then that's where it all started, I guess. And then when I decided to start Aura, I think that's when my social media and my raising awareness kind of came into place naturally, which was quite nice.
So, I mean, you've got a stoma like us.
Yes.
Because of Crohn's.
Yes.
You've had quite the journey. It started quite early on in childhood for you, didn't it? So would you like to share how it all came about?
So at 12 years old, I started feeling a bit unwell. My symptoms were lack of appetite, being sick, in constant chronic pain. And I mean, the pain was debilitating. It was so bad. I was losing a lot of blood in my stool. I couldn't really wait for the toilet. I had to go. I was going multiple times a day. And I kept going to the GP. And all they kept saying to me was, this seems like a bug. Give it a few more days and you'll be fine. And I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Absolutely no help whatsoever. To the point where I'd lost loads of weight because I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
And obviously I was losing a lot of fluids as well. And I remember I was brushing my teeth and I collapsed and hit my head on the radiator. And my mum came in with like foam all over my mouth. She was like, oh my God, my daughter's got rabies. I was like, no. And then I got rushed to A&E. And that's when they said they think I might have IBD. And then I was transferred to Cardiff Hospital, where I was under a specialist consultant. And we did some tests. So I had the colonoscopy and they confirmed it was Crohn's disease. And at the time I was only 12 and I'd spent a good couple of months in hospital already. And I remember when I heard the words Crohn's disease, I just thought it's like something that you'd have, but then have medicine and then get better. Yeah. I think it took me about a year to realise that it's like ongoing and I've got it for life. No one really explained that to me. And I was a bit like, okay. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and I was in and out of hospital for about a year. I've tried infusions, I've tried injections, I've tried diet, I've tried, I had the NG tube where I was didn't eat anything for 6 weeks to see if it would help. I was on steroids. I was on so many different things and nothing seemed to help to the point where I remember they let me go home for a few days and it was like a summer day and it was really hot outside. But I was sat in the house with like my dressing gown on, a blanket, a portable heater right next to me. And I was just shivering because I was like so cold and so like didn't have any energy. Like, have you seen that Vine? It was like, I've got nothing left. That's literally what I was like. I had nothing left in me. And yeah, so went back into hospital and they said to me, looks like we're going to have surgery. So I was like, yeah, okay. And I remember my nurse, who I was really close to, had said to me, they put me straight on like TPN, and like pumped me with loads of different drugs, basically. And I remember my nurse saying to me, if you hadn't come in that night, you would have not made it through the night. And that literally put fear into me. And I was like, I need to do whatever I need to do to just like get over this and get better.
What an age to experience that.
I know, yeah. But the thing is, like, I was thinking about this in the car on the way here. At the time, you just get on with it. You don't have time to sit and process what's going on. And when you're so young as well, the world just like moves past you and you're just like a bit, what's the word? Like kind of, you don't really think about things in the way that an adult would. So I was just very like in the moment, and all I wanted to do was to get better so I could go back to school and see my friends. That's all I was thinking about. I just wanted a normal childhood.
You was a baby. I mean, you was diagnosed the year I had Maisie.
Yeah.
It's just 15 years.
I know. But again, you don't really think about it. You don't really like process it. And I think going through something as traumatic as that, you just like grow up. You don't have time to be a child anymore. You don't have time to like, think about anything else. You just have to like fight, I guess, and just get on with it. So that's pretty much what I did. And I remember they said to me, got to have an ileostomy. And they came by with like a laptop with a video on it. And this video showed people of all ages, young and old, with a stoma and how they're just living their life with it. So it was very like happy and upbeat video. Like, look at me, I've got a stoma. I can do this. I can go swimming. I can go on a date night. And it kind of like made me feel like, oh, like, this is amazing. I'll have this. And they said it was temporary. I'll have this for a few years. I'll get better. I'll have more surgery and then I'll be back to normal. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to have the surgery. My parents were a bit apprehensive. They were like, are you sure, Ange? Like, it's such a big thing. But I was like, there's nothing else that I can do. It's bag or box. So I remember just like saying to my parents, it's really what I want now. And they were like supportive, obviously. Because I think it was hard on them. And then, I had my surgery and it all went well. No issues. Just woke up feeling a bit like, what have I done?
God, can you remember seeing it for the first time at that
like
age?
That memory in my head is so clear. I remember waking up, I was in my own room. My mum and brother and sister were there. And no, I wasn't in my own room. I was in ICU. So I was with a few different people. But I remember just like waking up and my mum, my brother, or sister were there. They all kissed me. And like, I remember just feeling like, oh my God, I got through it. And I didn't look down. I was just kind of like lying down. And then they were like, you're going to Disneyland. The hospital's taking you to Florida. And I was like, oh my God. This is amazing. So Dreamfly actually took me to Florida soon after my operation. So that cheered me up. But I remember I got taken into like an ICU ward, but in my own little room. And that's when I fully like woke up. And I remember looking down and they put that clear bag on you. And I was just like, and it was so swollen and so big. And I was like, what have I done? Like, how am I gonna do anything with this?
That is a core memory though, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter how many surgeries you have. That shock of waking up, especially when whether it's been moved or refashioned, is just...
what is going on? And especially seeing it for the first time, like as you guys know, it's not a pretty sight, unfortunately. but yeah, I remember seeing that and just being really emotional. But again, I didn't really have time to be emotional because the nurses came straight in and I had to get myself up and I had to try and use the loo and I had to like wash myself and get changed. And then my mum would come and then, you know, you don't really have time to process things like that. I think in hindsight, I probably would have liked an hour to myself just to like come to terms with it. Because even after it, I think for months I was like quiet and like held back, and because I was still thinking to myself every time I looked down or every time it made a noise, I was like, oh my God, like how am I ever gonna have a normal life? But you do. You just do. I think with everything in life, you just get on with it.
How did you, I mean, how soon after that then was there talk about how you would become more independent in terms of managing the bag yourself? Because, I mean, you wouldn't have changed it yourself straight away.
No, they tried to like teach me in hospital, but it literally just went in one ear, came out the other, because I think with so much to process, it's really hard to like think about how you're going to manage it, especially because I didn't even want to touch it. I didn't even want to like, because it was so sore, and I just didn't want to like kind of come to terms with it just yet. I think I needed like my own space. But I remember going back home, I believe it was like a week or two after the surgery, so quite soon after. But I remember going home and a nurse came out to see me in the house and she was teaching me how to do it. But I was really confused. So she came the one day, I can't believe I remember all of this, but she came in the one day, showed me how to do it. And I thought she'd come in the day after, maybe 2 or 3 times to kind of help me a bit more. No. Just the one day, showed me how it was done. And then I was literally left on my own. Thankfully, my mum helped for a lot of it because I think like my mum had seen and was kind of like trying to help me and boost my confidence a little bit and just to like kind of get me into the rhythm of doing it on my own. And eventually you just do it and you have to because otherwise, obviously.
Do you think that may have been obviously because of your age at the time? You was 13, so maybe the Stoma nurse saw that with you being a teenager and a bit more able.
Barely though, my gosh.
I know, but I think one day for anyone that's had that surgery, no matter what age you are, is not enough. I think there needs to be more help.
Even as an adult, you only basically get the once, maybe twice at a push.
I mean,
with the Stoma nurse in hospital, and you're sent because they won't discharge you unless you know how to change it. So,
were your parents? Because I know from my perspective, with the kids having their stoma surgery, myself and their dad were shown, and then it wasn't until they were 100% certain we were competent that we could go home with them because they knew we could manage that. So is that what was done with your parents?
Not really. I think so my dad worked away, so it's just my mum, my brother and my sister. But my mum was like obviously there in the room, but they were showing me, not her.
Oh right, so it was all on you.
So it was all on me. So I think my mum like was obviously looking and learning herself without actually doing it. Because I think, I don't know how you do it with your little ones, but imagine like your little one having a stoma and having to change them. Like it must be so hard when it's like the first thing you have to, you know.
And I suppose as a parent, you're coming to terms with seeing what's happened to your child. As much as you, that must have been got horrendous for you, but your mum must have been trying to process that a lot, and with your dad away, that must have been really tough for her.
Yeah, I think it was really tough for her. But I did stay strong. I remember she told me a story once. I'm probably going to get emotional saying this, but it was just before I went into surgery, and my mum's a panicker. She is not calm, cool, and collected. She was panicking. She was like, you know, she knew everything was going to go okay because my doctors were honestly amazing and my surgeons were amazing. But she was just obviously panicking and a bit like worried of what might happen. And I could see her in her face, even though she was trying to be strong. And I was like trying to cheer her up. I was laughing and giggling all the way down to the theatre room where they like put injections in and stuff. And I remember she said to me, I was like laughing and like all happy. As soon as they like put the anaesthetic in and I like closed my eyes, a tear rolled down. I think I was trying so hard to like keep it back for her that, yeah. Whew. Emotional.
Ange. That's
but she always talks about that, you know, just to say like how strong I was. And I did try to put on a brave face, but yeah, back to the bag change thing. I feel like I was just left to my own devices a little bit. And also like Stoma care. Did you guys ever have like a choice of what you wanted to wear?
Not back then, no.
I was just given whatever the nurse like represented. I thought that was the only bag on the market, the one I had. I literally thought there was no other bag. This is what I've got. And, you know, back in the day, they weren't as nice as they are now.
No. Things have changed so much, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Because even back then, the bags that I was using for the 3 years were clear bags that didn't have a cover or anything on. They was just clear.
Clear ones as well. And then they went into like that nude, but you could still see everything. And then they eventually got better. Yeah.
And then so at age 18, then you underwent permanent surgery with the Barbie butt.
Yeah. So
still at that age,
a
massive surgery.
That one's not too bad.
Was there any logical reasoning behind that? Did you just decide not to have a reversal, or was there mitigating circumstances?
So they told me, like, when I had my first surgery, that I would have a reversal. That I'd have this bag for maybe 1 or 2 years and then have a reversal. But my rectum was just so inflamed, still had Crohn's disease in it, and it just wasn't getting any better. I was on adalimumab at the time as well to try and like calm things down, but nothing was calming it down. I was still in pain.
Humira.
Yeah. I was still losing a lot of blood. I just wasn't well. And I just thought to myself, I just need this bit gone. Like, I just want to be happy and healthy. It's probably the best decision I've ever made.
So the medication didn't help at all?
No, nothing.
So they would have just possibly deemed it as refractory Crohn's disease at the time.
Yeah.
In other words, stubborn, medication won't work, surgical is the only management option.
Pretty much, yeah. But it was my decision to do it. I'm the one that spoke to my surgeon and just said to him, please, can I have this? I can't live like this anymore. I just want to go to school. I want to go out with my friends and not have to worry about leaks and all sorts. And he was like, yeah, sure. So I had the surgery at 18.
Was that with your care setting in paediatrics, or had you switched to adult then?
I was a mixture of both, to be honest. So
I'm dreading that.
I was under paediatric, but I woke up in an adult ward. And I remember thinking, this is not fun.
It's so different, isn't it? I mean, paediatric environment in a hospital, you know, if the funding's there, it's a lot less depressing than in the adult side.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully for all my stays in hospital, but that one, I was in like the paediatric, and then,
They didn't take you to Disney then after the... Barbie.
Pardon?
They didn't take you to Disney after Barbie Butt
No,
surgery.
they didn't. I was really hoping for one. I was really hoping for another trip.
I mean, you've accomplished so much since then.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about Aura clothing, which I'm lucky enough to have made a few purchases with that.
You both did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what was the drive for that, and how did it all start?
So I think it was... Well, I know it was just like feeling self-conscious in my own skin, and not finding the right clothes to kind of help hide my stoma. It was things like events with friends, or like going to the beach or going on holidays. I just couldn't find things that kind of helped make my stoma more discreet, but was also like comfortable and fashionable. So I did a lot of research, and I did like look into different things. And I've just basically decided one day, you know what, I'm going to do this because what have I got to lose? And it took me a few years. YouTube was my best friend. I learned how to start a business on YouTube. And I just took it step by step, and every day I do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And then eventually I just launched Aura Clothing.
You was relatively quite affordable then as well.
I tried to be.
Obviously, the cost of yours versus other competitors, you was a lot more affordable.
Yeah,
you'd done that with
the quality was there as well.
That's literally what I wanted. I didn't want people to have to spend a lot on the clothes, and I didn't want to kind of not have the quality there. So I went to the best manufacturers in Portugal. The swimsuit manufacturers actually cater for Dior and stuff. So they were super good quality, all made from recycled ocean plastic. And yeah, I mean, the reason why they were more expensive than I would have liked them to be, because I would have sold them at high street prices, is because I was going in buying small quantities. And obviously when you have small quantities, the cost is much larger, and I had to at least break even. But yeah, so I did try to sell them for as cheap as I could. But yeah.
And I say, your swimwear at the time though, that was literally flying off of the website.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember launching that, and I did a lot of marketing beforehand, and just to get people excited. And I thought to myself, it'll take me a good while to sell and stuff. I believe my one-piece zip first time round sold out within the first week or so.
I hadn't long had my surgery when I bought that, and I felt $1 million, because it takes you a long time to feel good in your skin. And finding clothes that aren't smock dresses and oversized things to feel good. And obviously a swimsuit, you can't wear an oversized swimsuit. No, but I felt $1 million. It was it was so good.
That's so good to hear.
But I mean, that chapter ended or paused, whatever the future may hold for it. And you've been very busy the last 6 months as the little extra behind us that people can't see, unfortunately.
So you kept that so quiet as well.
I think for the first little while, I definitely did keep my pregnancy quiet, only because I'm not sure how you guys felt, but having a chronic illness, you just don't know what's going to happen. And I was told I was high-risk pregnancy, and I was worried about all my scar tissue and stuff. I was worried about delivery. So what I didn't want to do is I just didn't want to jinx or preempt or kind of make a wrong move just in case something happened. And touch wood, I was all good and nothing bad happened. But, it's quite scary having a chronic illness and being pregnant, because you're kind of waiting, as horrible as that sounds, waiting for something bad to happen, because we just can't catch a break, can we?
No. I mean, were you given any advice? I mean, our babies were born a few weeks within each other. But I know I wasn't, but were you given any extra support or extra advice or anything to support you with the fact that you were pregnant with a chronic illness? Because I was deemed high risk as well, but I wasn't given any extra support or guidance or anything.
Led?
Yeah, consultant led.
Yeah.
And then a C-section, I had to have one. I can't give birth naturally because of surgeries.
Yeah.
But in terms of what to expect or what might happen after, Nothing
as well for me, to be honest. I had a few conversations with my stoma nurses, and they just said not much will change with your stoma and stuff. So I was okay. They said it'll eventually get bigger as your belly gets bigger, but in terms of pregnancy and stuff, because I was where will my intestine go when the baby's pushing? I was trying to work out in my head. But no, I didn't. I'm the same as you. I was consultant led, and I had good consultants, but not so much support from the stoma side of things.
A lot of people don't share much because you are afraid of what might happen. I know for me, I chose to share mine for that reason, because not a lot was out there that I could see. I mean, it wasn't the pregnancy with a stoma. That's not your story. It was after pregnancy for you.
And how did you manage with your stoma? Because obviously I follow a few people, and there's one lady that I remember that done a lot about after proctectomy surgery and having pregnancies. Is it Bag Mama?
All right,
the lady Australia and New Zealand.
I think I know who you're on about.
Obviously, I followed her, and she always did the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, more recently, there is one person that I can think of that has had 2 children post proctectomy surgery, but they tend to post more on the negative rather than.
And I think that's what I was kind of concerned about, because I feel like your story was positive mostly with your pregnancy and obviously having a stoma and pregnancy, but there can be a lot of negative stuff. And don't get me wrong, you need to know what other people have experienced.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'm that kind of person. I need to know what has happened so I can kind of mentally prepare myself.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just didn't want to like kind of get myself too wrapped up in the negativity of things.
No,
sometimes.
that's completely understandable. I mean, that, you know, for instance, if you was following Rachel's story whilst you was pregnant and with the stoma and everything else, you know, you posted both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Whereas there's another person that I can think of and the stuff that they posted during their pregnancies.
Yeah.
And if there was somebody that had fallen pregnant after proctectomy surgery and they was looking at that content, it'd be a bit like,
yeah,
am I doing the right? You know, because it said that falling pregnant and your fertility and everything following proctectomy surgery is difficult, and falling pregnant can be difficult.
Yeah.
And then obviously you might not be able to give birth naturally, and you need to have a C-section and other bits and pieces. So it's a worry anyway. And then with being chronically ill, you don't want to say anything for the first 12 weeks.
No, definitely not. And I'm such a worrier. I'm a massive worrier. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just keep it between me and the family for a little while until I knew everything was going smoothly. And then I shared a little post just to say, hello, me again, and I'm pregnant. And then eventually, like, I've been doing a lot of work with Pelican with like kind of posting things about my pregnancy or writing blogs about my pregnancy. So I've been more open about it now. But I think at the time, one, I had so much to sort out, like having a baby. So expensive. But it just had so much to sort out. I was in the middle of moving houses, and obviously I don't live close to family. So we kind of had to do everything on our own. And then obviously whilst being pregnant and working full time and still traveling to London for work and stuff. So it was a lot to process. And yeah, I guess in a way I'm glad I was that busy, because if I wasn't, I would have just sat there and worried about every little thing. But yeah, I think it's just me. I think my illness has affected me in a different way probably. So I do worry, and I do like get concerned about things, and I try not to. I didn't even have a baby shower because I was just worried about people getting me gifts and something happening and stuff. But it was also things like, maybe my consultants didn't help, because instead of putting me at ease, I remember the first consultant I went to and I asked to change, she said to me, she went through like the C-section, and she was like, oh yeah, and there's a risk of this happening, and a high risk of this happening, and a high risk of this happening. And I was just sat there like, I'm going to die. Like it was crazy. And then afterwards I was like, I need to change. I think my family asked me a few times, like, what kind of help are you getting? And I'm like, well, I'm consultant led.
Me, myself, and I helped. That's what you were getting. And
mind blown.
And there's, you know, there are plenty of women that have pregnancies with stomas. And I think the way it was pitched to me by the consultant was, yeah, we see it a lot. Okay, so what can you tell me about it then? It was kind of like, it's just like, you know, just another thing. It's okay. Oh, okay. It's I don't know.
So like blasé about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And if you've got that, you know, you've been through that trauma through your childhood, living with your condition, they will have seen your notes and your history.
Yeah.
They should have acknowledged that, and they should have offered you support with that. I just don't think it's good enough. It's not.
I mean, it's like, for me, the biggest turn off for me with regards to pregnancy is the fact that I can't give birth naturally. I've got scar tissue from my Crohn's. I've got scar tissue from my endometriosis. My cervix is inverted, and not only is it inverted, it's also tethered by scar tissue. So that is not an option. But it's just...
How did you give birth?
C-section.
Yeah. So
they said to me, you can have a natural birth if you wanted to, but it's really high risk. And I was like, I'm not going to go through the whole pregnancy and then risk it right at the end.
Yeah.
I wanted a C-section anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all went well. Lost a lot of blood though because of all the scar tissue. And then, so I was very like in La La Land because I had the baby on me at the time. But the surgeon was saying, she's losing a lot of blood. Can you go get her a blood bag? They came in and they got the wrong blood. So then they had to go back out and we had to wait. But I didn't know this was happening. I was just like, oh, my baby's here. Oh. But my partner was panicking. He was like, can't believe they got the wrong blood.
Say, did your C-section take longer than normal?
I don't know. It was all such a blur, I'll be honest.
I know they told me to be prepared for it to take longer because of the scar tissue.
Yeah.
And they should allow for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely had to with you with the blood.
I think it was over 2 hours that I was there. But I can't quite tell because of just how much of a blur
you would have had a lot of drugs
is.
being pumped into you as well.
And then of course you hold in your new bundle of joy and you're just like so in love and you just don't see the time go by. Like I remember they took me into another room on my own with the baby. And my partner had to go up to the ward and he must have been there for an hour. But I thought it was like 20 minutes.
That must have been the longest hour of his life.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it really was.
So you don't, I mean, not enough credit is given to our partners when they're having to watch it unfold and knowing you've got a chronic illness. They're thinking God knows what could happen. And,
no, definitely have to give them some credit when it's due. They are amazing.
The other thing though is as well as the recovery from a C-section is a lot harder.
It was very hard. I don't remember like stoma surgery ever feeling that tough.
No, definitely not
for me either. I couldn't, and they make you walk like 6 hours after.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this. And then they put my bag on upside down. So this is actually really funny. So before I had my C-section, they brought someone in who was to like not changing my bag, but kind of put my stoma away in like a little dressing. Yeah. So they've got more room, I guess, more of my stomach on show.
Oh, so you didn't have a bag on during the C-section?
No, I think they put like stuff on there and like I went in with it on, but then they took it off and put something else on. And I took spare bag supplies. And I remember saying to her, like, do you want me to show you how I put it back on, just so you know? And at the time I wanted it kind of, because I knew I'd be laying in bed. I wanted it to the side and kind of like there. Yeah. But I didn't get the chance to explain that. She was like, no, I know what to do. I've done this before. I was like, okay, great. So gave her one of the bags, cut it for her and everything. Woke up, went into the bed and stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to check my bag just to like make sure that it's not filling up, or because I started eating and drinking. Oh my God, I was so hungry and thirsty afterwards. Yeah. Sorry. I just remember that thirst was unreal. I had about like 4 or 5 different drinks on the go and like nothing was helping. But anyways, it's probably because I lost a lot of blood. Anyway, so I was trying to look at my bag, and all I remember was like looking at it and it was like really high up and I was like so confused. I was like, have they moved my stoma? Like what's going on? But they just put my bag on upside down. So like the output.
Did you change it? Because that would have
I couldn't get out of bed because my legs like obviously weren't working for a good few hours. So I couldn't even like move them. And yeah, I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to have to like wait. And thankfully it wasn't filling up much. So I waited until I could walk. And then that was my motivation for going to the toilet, and I had to change it. Yeah. But even then that was hard because everything is so sore and your skin is so like just flabby and you're just like, oh.
Nothing knows where to settle, does it? Because it's all just been manipulated so much.
I know.
Because we were talking before this about how our stomas have been since C-sections and you, like me, it's not been great.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to share how it's been?
It's mostly because I think my belly got big, so my stoma got big, and then my belly shrunk. So then my stoma didn't shrink, but my skin did. So I've got loose skin, and it's very hard for the bag to stick on loose skin. I'm probably not as bad as you in terms of like leaks and stuff. So I have been getting the odd leak, but probably not half as much as what you've been getting.
But you yourself, you said you might have to have it refashioned.
Yeah.
Which they don't just do for no reason. You've really got to need it. So it must, your skin's been so sore, hasn't it?
My skin is so sore, and I keep calling them, what are they? I keep calling them granolas. I can never say it. I always go to my nurse and I'm like, my granolas are back. But yeah, they are just everywhere, and they're really painful and sore and itchy and bleeding and all sorts. So,
which makes getting your bag to do its job impossible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I had them before pregnancy, and I was going to have surgery before pregnancy. Then I fell pregnant, and I remember when I was like maybe 6 months pregnant, I got called to go see a gastroenterologist, and they said to me, "Oh, we can't really do the operation now because you're pregnant." And I was like, "I know." I was like, why am I here? I got places to be, people to see. But anyways, so yeah, I think surgery is probably on the cards for quite soon, which I'm actually excited about, because I just want to I don't want to faff around with my stoma. I just want everything to just be easy, like change my bag, put a new one on, and not have to worry. Especially with a little baby. You just, you don't want to worry about things. You just want it to be easy. And yeah, I think juggling a stoma and a baby can be quite tiring as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this operation.
I mean, you don't have time to think about yourself, do you?
No, but you have
need to be
with
pouring.
The stoma.
You can't avoid it. There are times when you have to put them down to care for your stoma, and there's no option there. If you're leaking, you can't say, "Oh, I'll just change it later."
Oh, you can't.
Well, no.
Even when it's full, and they're crying, this happened to me last night. I did not have a good night's sleep. But he was crying all night, and my bag was so full, and I was like, this is gonna explode if I don't go and do something. And obviously he kicks and all sorts. He kicks my belly and all. So I was left him in the bed crying whilst I went to the loo, and
you just got to, haven't you?
I just had to. I didn't have another choice, and I felt awful for it. But sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. But
I wasn't pregnant with the stoma, but I did have a stoma and a relatively new baby, and it's you kind of.
I don't know how you did it, because
what suffers in it? Because nothing, whatever you do it's never a good choice.
To be fair, for the 2 months that Maisie was in hospital with me, the night nurses were fighting over who was going to do the night feed. But obviously I was still awake because either my bag needed emptying or the wound machine wasn't working, and I'd have to have my dressing changed at 4
But it's also things so I've had a stoma for a good few years, so I know what works for me and what doesn't. You never had that chance to learn about your stoma and to learn every stoma's got its quirks, and to learn how you cut the bag and
mine was on a post-pregnancy belly. On an emergency situation, so it was badly placed. But because of the sepsis and because of where they removed all my stomach muscles, it was also on an incisional hernia. Whilst having biological mesh, I remember they was arguing with me because the wound wasn't healing. They was like, "Oh, we need to stick maggots in there." I was like, "You are not sticking You're not sticking maggots in my wound. You can debride it, but
maggots is in the
medical maggots to eat the dead tissue, because obviously it wasn't growing back."
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, no. And there's "Oh, we can't debride you because you can't be put under general anaesthetic again." I was like, I did it on gas and air. I was like, just give me the gas and air.
She's made of hard stuff, she is.
You literally are.
There was Maisie in a pink little Moses basket.
Whilst this is, oh my Christ.
I need a bit of your strength here and there, I can't, and I'm worrying about little things.
But everybody's different. It's, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't know what to do if I was pregnant with a stoma right now.
Like we all have to do. We just have to get on with it. That's part of. You haven't got a choice, have you, really? You've just got to adapt. And I mean, I was lucky that I always seem to be at my best when I'm pregnant. Yeah. And I think there was about 3 or 4 of us that were pregnant at around the same time. And I won't say other people's names that I knew well or were friends. And I think all of us were pretty sound during pregnancy. You're riding that high. But it just seems to be after, for most of us, that it all went a bit upside down, whether it's the peristonal skin issues or the baby's born that need a stoma or whatever. Yeah. It just seems to be that it's afterwards. Yeah. And, people with chronic illnesses and Crohn's and IBD, it seems to be a similar thing. They seem to be well when they're pregnant, but then it's afterwards. And nothing prepares you for that because you're tired, you're exhausted, you've got a new human to look after. And the support just isn't out there, is it?
But you're both doing so amazing.
Yeah.
It's, the amount of women that are told, especially, Crohn's disease and having a stoma placed and, the amount of women that are told to have their babies before having proctectomy surgery because it's going to severely impact your fertility. Yeah. That is scary to be told as a woman. And because for even in this day and age, the whole thing about being a mum or having to be a mum is the forefront on everybody's mind of, oh, you're married, but when are you having kids? Why aren't you having kids? The one that I get asked, well, why aren't you having another one?
It's relentless, isn't it?
I just feel like people need to chill on the whole, like, why aren't you having babies or,
And I think as well,
it's just not fair.
There's a lot of women out there that their fertility is completely shot from these chronic illnesses and they really struggle. And I do appreciate how lucky I am to have 2 children. Yes, they're born with the same condition and yes, they have stomas and yes, I wouldn't choose that, but I do have them and I'm really grateful for that, for that happening. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because so many people are out there struggling and I don't know, support of any kind would be good, to be honest.
And this is why these conversations are so important. And this is why, sharing stuff negative or positive or however you like, just sharing your experience with things is so important and is so needed in our community. Just to kind of break down the stigma and chat about tough things.
Yeah, because the other thing is there are a lot of women that have 1 child and then really struggle to conceive a second.
Yeah.
And it's, I'd be rather rich right now if I charged for every time people asked me when I was going to have another one. And when you turn around and say, you don't want to talk about it or you joke because you don't want to have to sit there and explain your whole medical history to somebody else in a general conversation. And it's just well, why do I have to explain myself? I shouldn't have to tell you.
People shouldn't really be asking, to be honest.
But they do.
Yeah. I personally think it's so rude for someone to ask, are you having a second one? Or, because, people aren't lucky enough to just get pregnant on the spot, or people don't want to have any more kids. I've got friends that have just got the one and they're happy and they're healthy and they don't want any more. So yeah, I just think people need to just chill and not ask personal questions.
But they will always ask those personal questions.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone with regards to accepting their stoma if they are struggling with things post-ops in general?
I'd say the first thing, and I always preach this, is just be kind to yourself. I think having an operation is such a big deal. Managing life is such a big deal. And I think often we can be so hard on ourselves and we can compare ourselves to other people, compare ourselves to people, that have got what we don't have. But I just think just be kind to yourself, just take it easy, put yourself first, especially the first few months of having a stoma. You need to prioritize yourself and your health and come to terms with it. And just be really kind to yourself. And my top tip is fake it till you make it.
Oh, yeah.
I think just acting confident can sometimes make you feel confident.
Yeah.
Even things like putting on your best dress and, doing your hair and makeup can make you feel a bit better than, you did few hours ago. So yeah, just be kind to yourself, fake it till you make it, and reach out if you need any help. There's so many amazing people out there with stories and with like experiences, and they can, even just watching their social media or like, you know, watching YouTube or wherever, can just like brighten your day and make you feel a little less alone. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I first had surgery, like there was no one on social media, I don't think.
There wasn't social media.
No,
it was in its infancy.
Yeah, but I remember feeling like I was the only person in the world that had this. But thankfully, there's like so many people out there now, and yeah, if I'm ever having a bad day, I'll, you know, look at a few Instagram posts and I'm like, oh, you know, they look amazing. I'm going to look like that.
It's been so lush having you here, especially in person. And you are so gracious and divine. And the way you carry yourself, you have such a calm... I feel so calm and relaxed after this. I feel like I've had a spa session.
Oh, you feel like you've just put your PJs on.
Yeah,
and
well, yeah, that's how I started and that's how I'm going to finish. But thank you so much. And you've, you know, what you accomplished with Aura Cloven and the way you've come through your childhood. You went through so much trauma. You're now a mother yourself, and you sharing your story is going to help so many people.
Oh, so thank you guys for having me. Honestly, it feels amazing to be sat on a table with two very inspiring women, two beautiful women, and I just feel so lucky. I feel so happy after this chat.
Well, you are one of the OGs like us, and it's just lush having you here. But thank you for those of you that have tuned in for this episode of Beyond the Pouch, and thank you so much, Ange. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to see you again soon.